power that comes with it, and the ability to shut down anyone and to go, well, speaking as an immigrant, you're not allowed to say that. Yeah. Right? Speaking as a whatever, you're not allowed to say that. That's power. In a society that tries to debate ideas, that is tremendous.
I'd like to know specifically what. Say what? You're not allowed to say what? I'd love to know. Maybe, do you mean the N-word? So I just found this video out of nowhere and I wanted to go over it because it looked interesting. It's called The Facial Scar Test, parentheses, Social Experiment, Completely Explains Woke Culture. Now, I don't know what the facial scar test is, and I have no idea how could it even remotely relates to woke culture. I have no concept at all. I don't know if this will be good. I don't know if it'll be interesting, but I am going to, sorry, I'm reading chat. They mentioned Balatro and I'm addicted to that game. Anyway, we're just going to watch this and see how it goes.
All right, to this a suggestion via
Stop distracting me.
The name of the video is Explained, the Facial Scar Test. This is coming from the channel Trigonometry. The Facial Scar Test, Social Experiment. I have two facial scars. One is basically being obscured by like my beard, kind of, right? I had a tooth go through my skin when I was younger. I thought I could fly.
What the fuck?
You can't fly, guys. You can't fly.
Hate that.
Then right here, right?
I see that one.
My mother came to pick me up basically from my babysitter, and I was running, tripped over a stick, hit my head on the like corner of like a brick stair.
Yeesh.
Yes. Wild.
Reminds me of when I was little. I was trying to climb. Okay, so what's so funny is this incident is what made the hospital think that my parents were abusing me. Physically, like hitting me. Is I climbed up on a bookshelf and I like came down and cut my chin on the wood that was like the bookshelf. I cut my chin on the bookshelf, and I had a really deep scar. And so like apparently took me in alone. I don't remember this, but they took me alone and started asking me questions about what my parents did to me and shit. It was I remember cutting my chin, but I don't remember that conversation. Apparently my parents were very worried.
Wild time, blood on the mouth. It was wild times, guys. It was a wild time. But either way, listen, guys, let's go and jump into this immediately.
Anyway,
let's see where this takes us, guys.
This experiment literally a couple of days ago, where they did an experiment with a group of women, and they put scars on their faces, and they told these women that they're going into a job interview, and the purpose of the experiment is to find out whether people with facial disfigurements face discrimination.
It is a good outfit.
They showed them the scars in the mirror. The women saw themselves with these scars, and as they led them out of the room, they said, we're just going to touch it up a little bit. Okay. And as they touched it up, they removed the scarring completely.
But you still kind of...
Hold up. So I watched a little bit of this earlier and I remember this part. So we're going to touch it up a little bit. And they actually, like, is it that easy to cover a scar? Is it really that easy? Like, I don't know. I don't do makeup, but I feel like that would at least take a minute, I don't know.
Scarred their mental.
Minor point.
Right? So now they're going to walk around. Oh, this is genius. This is genius. I think this is going to end up most likely leading into the victimhood mentality, most likely. This could easily kind of teeter on that realm. What? Like, listen, you are this, but I fixed it. So now you're not this, but now you're going to think you're this. So like you're mentally a victim.
So the women went into the job.
What is he talking about? Hold on.
This is going to end up most likely leading into the victimhood mentality, most likely. This could easily kind of teeter.
So he's saying this is going to be a commentary about like how people with facial scars actually do get hired, and they're playing the victim card when they say that that's like they're being discriminated against. I don't know. Like there are some. I'm sure there's like discrimination against them. Appearances are everything in this society.
On that realm, like listen. You are this, but I fixed it.
I mean, hell, when I was a kid, I was a horrible kid. I was terrible. There was one time I was in gymnastics when I was a kid, and there was one facility that I remember. I remember this so vividly. I pointed at this guy who had, I forget what it's called. It was like augmented pigmentation on one side of his face. So it was like blotchy and like a little reddish, and completely like it was a birthmark, you know, like it wasn't a scar or anything. It was just a birthmark. Like this guy just had this. And I pointed at him and I told my sister, I'm like, look at that guy. Like, isn't he weird? Oh my God, look at his face. And he saw me pointing and he comes over and he starts like scolding me. He's like, you know, I was born with this, right? I can't control this at all. And I immediately was like it's like I sprang a consciousness. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, like I actually just embarrassed myself really badly right now. And that was when I learned to not comment on people's appearances, especially when they can't control it.
So now you're not this.
But my point in bringing that up was that guy, I mean, I discriminated against that guy. So it absolutely is a thing.
But now you're going to think you're this. So like you're mentally a victim.
So the women went into the job interview thinking that they are scarred, but actually being their normal selves.
Well played.
And the result of the experiment is that those women then came back reporting.
I guess technically I wasn't discriminating, but you know what I mean.
Went into the job interview thinking that they are scarred, but actually being their normal selves.
Well played.
And the result of the experiment is that those women then came back reporting massively increased level of discrimination. Indeed,
of course they did.
Many of them came back with comments that the interviewer had made that they felt were referencing.
Yeah, sure. I'm willing to accept that, you know, a lot of it is internalized. And so there are some things that you hear that sound like discrimination but actually aren't, you know, but you know, that where does that mentality come from? Usually it has to come from somewhere. Self-awareness of having a scar, the self-consciousness about it, comes from societal expectations of beauty. Okay, it is rooted in our society that appearances are everything. You know, you watch a Disney movie and all the princesses are stick figures with pretty faces who you know, are basically just fantasy dream girls, you know? And so that means, and you know, you look at magazine covers and there's the supermodels are all like skin and bones, you know? And so little girls grow up internalizing that and they may hear like, you know, they're like telling themselves, I have to be beautiful. I have to be beautiful. You know, like that's a form, I wouldn't say discrimination necessarily, but it's a form of social conditioning for certain expectations. And that's how you might get somebody who hears discriminating words when in reality there was none. It's sad, you know, there's a deeper analysis here that this guy is just going to completely ignore and say, well, they're just whining. They're just whining. Look at these whiners. They have nothing to whine about. It's like, dude, that self-consciousness about their scars came from somewhere. Let's analyze that.
Their facial disfigurement.
Okay.
And this is why I think this ideology of victimhood is so dangerous, because if you preach to people constantly that we're all oppressed, that we're all being discriminated against at different levels.
This is brain dead. This is surface level baby brain bullshit. There's no actual, like, you don't care about where people get this idea that they're being discriminated against. You just think they're making it up. They're bullshitting it. It's not bullshitting it. It's there's a psychological analysis to be had here. This is stupid.
That's all you're going to see.
Because I'm an immigrant, I'm automatically disadvantaged. That because I have dark skin, I'm automatically disadvantaged. Then that
where would they have gotten that idea?
And yeah, it's like you know, when you buy a new car, you see
they just pulled it out of the ether, right? Oh, because I'm an like somebody one day just made up the fact that like immigrants are discriminated against. Somebody just made it up. They just bullshitted it. And then like people started thinking it for no reason. Nothing to look into here, guys. There's not like an entire societal ingrained problem of discriminating against immigrants, especially from Mexico and South America. There's not like an entire context of like disgusting policies that have actually killed and maimed people, you know, who are a different skin color than us when they're from other countries to be had. There's nothing like that to analyze here. They're just making it up. They're just making, you're so stupid. This is bullshit.
That car everywhere else as you drive around. It's that kind of effect, which is why this ideology of teaching people that they're victims is so incredibly damaging and so incredibly dangerous. We have to teach young people.
Who's teaching people that they're victims and why are they doing that? What purpose would they have for that? I don't understand. This isn't about teaching people that they're victims. This is about the reality of the situation. People sometimes feel like they're victims because in the past they have been. Maybe one of those women, when they were like, let's imagine she was like 8 years old and had this horrific face scar. Imagine the mental torment that person would go through as a result of the children around them constantly berating them for that scar. You know, like that's a real thing that happens. And then when they grow up, sometimes they hear things that sound like insults that aren't, and they internalize it. Shit happens. They're not playing the victim. This is brain dead, like I said.
In particular, that they're strong, that they're capable, that they're able to overcome adversity, not that they're victims. We now have a society where we promote certain people ahead of others. We have what supposedly is called positive discrimination. I don't think any discrimination can be positive in that way. So actually this...
Wait, positive in the psychological sense. When you talk about positive punishment, well, there's no such thing as positive punishment. I don't know what positive discrimination would entail exactly, but positive punishment entails that you are adding something to the equation that is a punishment, rather than taking something away and considering that a punishment. So positive punishment would be something like spanking. Negative punishment would be like grounding you from video games because you're taking video games away. Does that make sense? So in this, I imagine the context here is also what's happening. Let's just look it up. What is positive discrimination? It essentially refers to the automatic favoring without proper consideration of merit of underrepresented individuals from minority groups over individuals in majority groups. Oh, okay. So positive discrimination would refer to like reverse discrimination. It's like that. It refers to the preferential treatment of a group of people over another because they possess a protected characteristic. So they are so that is like a literal interpretation of that is like it's positive because we're actually doing a good thing by discriminating. Like it's not a good thing to discriminate against a majority population anyway. Okay, I was wrong on that one. I thought that they were referring to like adding something to the equation. This is actually kind of stupid. It's the same thing as reverse discrimination, right? I think it's just referring to reverse discrimination. Anyway, let's just get back to the video.
You're right.
Solution is there, but the reality is that as Douglas Murray says, some people enjoy the overcorrection. A
lot of people enjoy the overcorrection. A lot of people do. But it's just like, bro, like, listen, you realize you're doing exactly...
What overcorrection?
The same thing you're trying to fight against, bro. Like the same exact thing you're complaining about. You're doing it to a new group of people.
So wait, we're using this study about facial scars and people internalizing trauma from that to say that like woke culture is bad? This is so stupid and like you're really reaching. You're reaching so bad. I'd like to see what the results were of that study and like what the conclusion was. Because my conclusion would be, yeah, there are instances where these people state that they're facing discrimination and they're not. You know, maybe if you actually sat them down and asked like, what comment did you find discriminating? Like I said, this is a brain dead analysis of this study and a brain dead extension of it.
All right, how do you fix the issue?
Enjoy the overcorrection and the power that comes with it and the ability to shut down anyone and to go, well, speaking as an immigrant, you're not allowed to say that. Yeah. Right? Speaking as a whatever, you're not allowed to say that. That's power. In a society that tries to debate ideas, that is tremendous.
I'd like to know specifically what. Say what? You're not allowed to say what? I'd love to know. Maybe, do you mean the N-word? Like, do black people have power over white people because white people aren't allowed to say the N-word without social consequences? Is that it? Which, by the way, like, when black people use the N-word in, like, a derogatory... Like, there are ways that, like, even black people can use the N-word, like, with a hard R and, like, get in trouble. You know, like, there are ramifications sometimes for black people using the N-word. I don't know. It's like, my point is like specifically, what do you mean? Like saying what? What am I not allowed to say?
And this power, and people don't want to give that up. They don't want to give that up. And I think that's a big part of why this is happening. And the other thing is, of course, this whole ideology of victimhood. It's weaponized empathy. It's weaponized our empathy. I'm using your empathy against you.
Right.
Because...
Yeah, but guys, see, the crazy thing about this is that I, in fact, have autism, right?
So what end?
With that being said, I barely have empathy for anyone. I'm just going to be honest here. It just is what it is. I'm not wired to understand your problems. Those are your problems type of thing.
Okay. There's a difference between, I think, when you're speaking about empathy, there's a difference between having empathy for your fellow person and being able to empathize with specific situations. When I am talking about empathy for people as a general concept, what I'm trying to communicate is that I care about the needs and desires of other people. And autistic people don't have a problem in that regard. The problem that autistic people have is empathizing, quote unquote, with specific situations, with putting themselves in other people's shoes sometimes. Like in a situation, all they can think about is, how would I react in that situation? How would I feel? You know, like it's difficult for autistic people sometimes to completely take on the brain of another person. That's what we mean by autistic people have problems empathizing. Autistic people don't have problems caring about the needs and desires of other people. That's not what lack of empathy means. If you're saying you have a lack of empathy, like that, what you're communicating to me is that you don't give a shit about other people, and that's not autism. That's you being a piece of shit, dumbass.
I can sit down and have a conversation with you and make you feel better, but trust me, be fully aware I don't understand your problems. Like, I don't know why you're crying. It doesn't make any sense to me.
If I say, well,
okay, but as a non-autistic person, aka an allistic person, when I see somebody crying, I may say to myself, like, if they explain it to me, I might say to myself, well, you know what? I don't understand that. I don't, like, let's say that somebody comes up to me crying. I'm like, what's wrong? I say what's wrong. And then they tell me, I'm crying because I just can't get this song right on the guitar that I'm playing. You know, I can't do it. They're just, the notes are too hard. Like, I just can't do it. And I don't give a shit about playing the guitar. If I couldn't get a song right, I'd just be like, fuck it and give up. That would be my reaction, right? But I can understand, and an autistic person could also understand, that this person's reaction is different. I personally am able to take with my brain magical powers, imagine myself as a person who is that passionate about getting the song right. I can do that. Autistic people sometimes can't. They can't put them brain in that position, okay? You have to explain it to them, like, imagine it in a different way, where it's like something you are passionate about, and you fall short of it, right? And then when they imagine it that way, then they're like, oh, that's what that person's feeling, okay? They have to take an extra step to get there. But they still care about the person's feelings. They still care that the person is crying and wants to console them. They're not being a piece of shit about it. Like, people just don't understand autism at all. Even this guy. Like, this guy doesn't understand his own autism.
Look, as a blah, 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 I've been oppressed for 50 years. You empathize with that.
Being a piece of shit is not part of autism.
You naturally empathize. So anything I then tack onto that, I've been discriminated against, therefore we must now overturn capitalism. It's harder to argue against simply the slogan, we must overturn capitalism. So it's weaponized empathy, and that's why it's naturally empathize. So anything I then tack onto that, I've been discriminated against, therefore we must now overturn capitalism. It's harder to argue against.
What? When did capitalism come into this? Are we defending capitalism now? Oh, okay. Like, wait, what? Like, what? Capitalism has nothing to do with this discussion. This was supposed to be about the facial scar test. Now we must overturn. This makes it so obvious that they don't give a shit what they're talking about, and they're just like all on the same grifting team, right? Where it's like it's a package deal. Like it's wokeism. They hate capitalism. They don't really care about parsing out the specifics, and like it's just like toss it. Just toss the words out there, right? Overturn capitalism. Yeah, the wokies say that. Blue hair, they have that. Like this conversation had nothing to do with that.
Against simply the slogan, we must overturn capitalism. So it's weaponized empathy, and that's why it's become so powerful and so corrosive, because it's very difficult to argue against. Excuse me, when people project this former oppression. their victimhood. And there is discrimination in society. Some people are racist, some people are bigoted, and
No. You fundamentally misunderstand what systemic racism is. When you say there is racism in society, some people are racist, some people are bigoted, you're completely just tossing aside the idea and reality of systemic racism, okay? Which I'm sure that this guy who's reacting to this video has faced at some point, okay? There is a lot of systemic racism against black people. Just look at arrest statistics and the amount of times they get shot by police. I think that if I remember correctly, black men are 9 times as likely to get shot by police as their white counterparts. Isn't that insane? The only way you can explain that is a form of systemic racism. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that individual cops are racist, although many of them are. It means that there is a system that has proliferated from racist ideas that pervades our society. Like, you can be racist in ways that you don't even understand you're being racist. That's the idea of systemic racism, okay? You may not even realize as a cop, I am stopping this person because they are black. It is specifically because they're black. You could literally stop a black person because they looked suspicious and it had nothing to, and in your mind, it had nothing to do with the fact that they're black. But for some reason, you just happen to be stopping more black people than white people because black people just, for some reason, look more suspicious. This is how systemic racism proliferates, so that it's mindless, okay? Like the late Michael Brooks said, be ruthless to systems, be kind to people, okay? It's the system of racism that is the problem, the main problem. Individual racists, fuck them, okay? I don't like them. I'm not making excuses for them. But the primary problem to tackle here is systemic racism.
There are groups which
they
have
fundamentally
been
misunderstand.
And we are now at a point where largely we've addressed many of those issues.
Definitely.
But the industries that they have created around those, career feminism, whatever else
feminism.
it is. Those people are never going to give it up. If you've got a successful career.
Are you talking about like having a feminist YouTube channel, like things like that? Because it's not about being a great feminist. You can be the best feminist in the world and fail at having a feminist YouTube channel. The point is that they're very good at the specific way that they're getting their feminist message out, whether that's YouTube or journalism or what have you. Like, they're good at their medium. That's what makes them successful, and maybe a bit of luck, which I had.
Career as a TV feminist. You're not going to give it up.
No, you love that. That's comfortable. You don't even really want equality. You just want to be better. While still getting the benefits of being a woman. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing in the world, actually.
The benefits of being what? What benefits of being a woman? Let's break that down. Let's discuss that. What? Like having the lowest bar possible for your dating pool if you're straight, right? Or having to not walk alone at night because of fear that you might get sexually assaulted by a man. Like what benefits are you referring to here? I'd love to know. Like people holding some holds the door open for a woman and you call that a benefit? Okay, dude.
Specifically that. But yeah, I never asked for empathy at all. And I also do not acknowledge the fact that there are some black people who I
never asked for empathy. What the fuck are you talking? Everybody wants empathy. Everybody wants empathy from their fellow man. And if you say you don't, you're either lying or you're a psychopath.
For empathy at all.
The fuck are you talking about?
And I also do not acknowledge the fact that there are some black people who I do encounter throughout the day who blame their failures on they blame everything on everyone else. And it's just like, bro, like, you realize I can sit here and talk to you and I am like, bro, I look just like you, right? Like, a lot of it comes down to the culture
He's such a grifter, dude. Okay, so what's so funny, right? Let's take a guy like Shark 300. A beloved friend of mine came to my wedding. He was so funny and great, and I love that guy to death. I could go on and on about him. But anyway, Shark 300. He's a leftist. If you don't know him, he's a leftist content creator. You should go check him out. I guess I'm big enough now that people who are in my audience wouldn't know who he is, which is crazy. But anyway, Shark 300. He like never, ever, ever brings up the fact that he's black. Like, every once in a while, he'll say the N-word with the soft A, whatever. Or like he will if it's relevant to the discussion, he'll bring it up. But like, I feel like every single black content creator who is conservative has to fit in somewhere in their videos that, like, by the way, I'm black and also I don't experience racism. Isn't that crazy? Whoa, I'm a black guy and I've never had anybody be racist to me. By the way, have I mentioned that wokies are ruining society and the West is falling? Whoa, well, by the way, I'm black. What? Like that, like, it's such like a stark difference between a leftist content creator who's black and a conservative content creator who's black. You know what I mean? I'm just pointing that out.
You're kind of specifically latching on to. You idolize the nonsense, right? Like, you idolize it. Why do you have gigantic chains on your neck, bro? Why? What's this for? Put that away in some type of mutual fund. Something. Do something with your finances.
A mutual fund. Bro, just put your money into a mutual fund. Bro, have you just considered learning to code, bro? Bro, just get your life together, bro. The grind of everyday capitalism isn't affecting you at all, bro. That's all in your head, bro. The systemic racism of police shooting you at 9 times the rate they'd shoot your white counterpart isn't affecting you at all, bro. Bro, have you just considered, bro? Just invest in crypto. Yeah, just buy some meme coin.
Right? So you can, you create some generational wealth. Something. Go to school. Get some education.
Just create wealth, bro. Have you thought about just pulling some dollary dues out of your asshole? Have you thought about that? What are you talking about?
What you are in fact idolizing is garbage. It is. It is complete garbage. It has no benefit to society.
I like that.
Right? It doesn't. It has nothing to do with it. So please, if we can just kind of get away from the concept of the hood culture and nonsense, and I think we'll be good out here, guys. Right? But other than that, you're gonna keep being a victim, and you're gonna have kids and victimize your kids, bro. Reality.
I wonder if I asked this guy to his face, like, hey, if he's watching this, maybe he's watching this. If you are, like, do you believe in the concept of systemic racism? Like, is that a thing that you think exists? And if not, I'd love to know why. Like, I know that you're going to bring up, well, I personally, speaking as a black person, would say that systemic racism is bullshit. Like, I'm not interested in your personal anecdotes. I'm interested in your opinions on, like, the statistics of, like, police shooting black men at 9 times the rate of white men, or, like, the arrest rates being way higher for black men. And if you consider that, like, a cultural thing, you're just blaming black people for their own plight. You are. And I don't care that you personally are black. You're still wrong. I would say the same thing to a white guy. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, you're just wrong. And either you haven't, there's a possibility you're telling the truth that you haven't actually experienced systemic racism. I'd be very surprised. But the more likely possibility is that you are simply lying. I'm just saying that if you're going by Occam's razor, I think that you're just a liar.
Yeah. You're not going to go, oh, look, the gender pay gap is pretty much closed, and in fact, women under 40 are out earning men. You're not going to want to hear that. You're not going to want to spread that. You're going to find
if your status and your power.
And by the way, I wouldn't even bring up the fact that they're black if they personally didn't bring it up first. I'm just throwing that out there.
Derived from being a victim.
Yeah.
You have a great incentive to remain a victim.
You don't have to remain a victim.
They always bring it up.
Your victimhood resolve.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there's a black conservative.
Yeah.
No one wants to.
No. All right, guys. I've never seen this guy before, or his channel, or any of these things, guys here. But
also, I've noticed that conservatives tend to react to, besides like the TikTok compilations, I guess. This is one of a few conservatives now that I've seen just reacting to like other conservative content, which I personally think is lazy, because all you're doing, like, I don't cover other leftist content usually, because all I would do is sit there and just be like, I agree. And that's all he did through the whole video. I could have watched the original and not like he didn't add anything to this.
Now I kind of want to go see what the facial scar test is about. Because I think that pretty much puts it all on blast. Seriously. It's a
But why would they think that they're being discriminated against?
It's always been that. There's nothing else more than that, bro.
These people cannot analyze anything to save their lives. I'm high and I can do this shit.
But all right, listen, guys. You guys all have an absolutely amazing
Go
day.
a step
Enjoy your
deeper.
day thoroughly.
Use your brain. Use your God-given, supposedly, brain and think about this shit. It's ridiculous. Come on. I believe in you. I believe in the power of your frontal cortex. Just give it like one extra step of thought and consider why somebody with a scar on their face might feel like they're being discriminated against, even when they're not, you know? Like, like this is actually a trope in media. It's like, for you guys know Buggy the Clown from One Piece? People will be like Buggy will ask a question, somebody will say, I don't know, and he'll be like, what did you just say about my nose? And he would call that discrimination. He thought that he was being discriminated against because of his big, shiny red nose, because he's a clown, but his nose is real. So, like, he personally thinks that that's discrimination, probably because he's self-conscious about his nose because other people, or a person at least, has made fun of it, okay? That's where it comes from. So, yeah, that would be why I think that people with facial scars think they're being discriminated against, even when they're not. They internalize the shame of having a scar because they've been discriminated against in the past for it. This is not that complicated, you know? And blaming this on, like, woke garbage, it's just brain dead. It's baby shit. You are a baby person. You're a man baby. You cannot use your frontal cortex. Please, I beg you, please. Just put in a little effort into your thought process and maybe you'll be a better person.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload. If you enjoy my content, you enjoy what I do, I really appreciate any financial help that I can get. Go to youtube.com/AlecGunterTTV/join. You got some awesome benefits such as seeing early videos, awesome emotes that you can use in the comments of YouTube videos, and a sweet badge next to your name. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd really appreciate if you join. It is cheaper than the cost of a blowjob from your mom. So with all that being said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.